John, can you start, because I can't do a roll call till Jane is on. All right. Great. Welcome to the Wareham Planning Board meeting of Monday, February 24th, 2025, in the Multi-Service Center, room 520, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Massachusetts. This is simultaneously being broadcast by Wareham Media. I'm going to call the meeting to order by beginning with a roll call. I'm going to start with Ms. Gleason, who is participating via Zoom.
Jane Gleason here.
Mr. Baptiste.
Mike Baptiste here.
Julie Moran here.
Sam Corbett here.
And the chair, Carl Schultz, is here. We have a quorum, and the meeting is open. The first item of business, before we begin, is Mr. Buckland on? No, he's not joining us, or he has not.
He won't be in today.
He won't be in. Okay, great, thank you. We have some old business to take care of. We have 3 sets of minutes from last year that were not voted on and accepted. So I'd like to have a motion or discussion and motion on each set of minutes to accept as written. So any discussion on the minutes of January 8th, 2024?
Make a motion to accept.
I have a motion to accept the minutes of January 8th, 2024 as written.
Jane said second.
Jane said second. Motion
Yes.
by Sam Corbett, second by Jane Gleason. All in favor? Starting with Jane.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair abstains, as I have not had a chance to read them yet. I was out this week. The minutes of February 12th, 2024, discussion.
Make a motion to accept.
A motion by Sam Corbett to accept the minute. There was no discussion. Motion by Sam Corbett to accept the minutes of February 12th, 2024 as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jane Gleason. All in favor? Starting with Ms. Gleason.
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
Julie Moran, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair abstains.
The last ones, I don't think we have those.
Do we not have the 26th yet? Josh, I didn't look. I'm sorry, I was out this week.
I don't.
Okay, so we'll,
Correct? I think
We
it's
have
on.
them. I did not sign them.
I think it's just 2.
Yeah.
At this point.
all right, so we, let's see, catch my breath here. So we're going to push the minute approval and discussion of the minutes for the 24th, February 26th, 2024, to the meeting of March 10th, which is our next meeting. Josh, someone is working on that in your office, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understood that to be the case.
Right.
Okay, so that covers the meeting minutes.
Quick question that maybe Josh might be able to help us out with. Do we know that this brings us up to date with all of our meeting notes?
I believe that I still owe the completion of the January 25th minutes. Patty and I are working on those. We discussed them at the last meeting. I didn't have, because that was the meeting where we didn't have the full video recording, and I needed to get the time that we actually went into recess. So I've got that. I've got to get that to Patty. And
Okay.
so that would be January 25th. And then the last meeting that we had, February 14 days, that would be February 10th. I believe she sent those to me this morning, and I need to, generally what she does is she prepares them, I proofread them, and then we get them onto the agenda. So those 2 sets are work in process, and those are the only 2 that I know of besides these 3 that remain open.
And those are from 25.
Say that again?
Those are from 2025.
Yeah, this year, January, the last meeting in January and the first meeting in February. And
But stuff going back farther where we should be in good shape with.
as far as I know, there are no other missing minutes. Since Patty
Okay.
has taken on the job, we're getting them regularly.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And I'm just.
Yeah.
Jane, I'm just doing a quick scan on what's posted online, and it looks like If you skipped your second meeting in January, those might be the only ones that are outstanding.
Well, that's what,
Okay.
the last one in January.
January of 2024, I mean.
Oh, 24, oh.
Yeah, I'm just going back through
Oh,
2024.
all right, so Josh, if you let me know which ones are missing, we should get those cleaned up.
Yeah.
There was a transition at that point in minute takers, and
Yep.
we may have missed some.
Understood. Yeah, no, I think just that the effort is ongoing to
Stay on
get
top
us
of it.
up to speed with that.
Yep. Okay. All right, the only items of business tonight, and they're listed on the agenda as business for the board to hear the report from the planning office. This is not a public hearing, but if there are questions, not debate, I can entertain questions for discussion, but this is not a public hearing, and we're not going to get in, which is the next meeting. We'll take it that way. So Josh, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you, and
Sure. So I sent out a couple Word documents for the board to review. I'll share them on the screen there. Let's see. I would believe that these, unless barring the discussion tonight, brings up some major flaws. I've already shared these with the town clerk, so they are available through the clerk's office. And once I get the go-ahead from IT, we're still working through the website transition, so it's not as simple as me just throwing them up on the website, but once I can work that out with IT, I'll get these up on the new and old website. So, following some notes from Carl at the last meeting, we really went through other sections of the bylaw that pertain to the solar development to try to clean up the warrant article for town meeting. This first change that you see here is to the definition of the business development overlay district, where we have added large scale ground mounted solar installations and the battery energy storage facilities on the end.
perfect.
So that's just a.
Yeah, I just went through to make sure we ticked and tied as quickly as we could, so we didn't get more gaps.
Nope, and I think that was super helpful. So moving on, you'll see where we are amending the use table. That's a pretty simple revision, as we're taking it out of all the zoning, and only allowing it in the business development overlay district. So, those are now all, changed to N for no, or not allowed. 450.5, we've added large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations and the battery energy storage systems on the end. This pertains to them requiring the special permit and the site plan review special permit. For 594.3, the restricted sightings, understanding that you could have any one of these other type of land use pre-disturbed areas in other places in town, I felt it appropriate that we leave all these in, because I think, especially with brownfields, landfills, things like that, there tends to be a dual-use solar and to these accessories. So I think having these with a site plan review special permit application although they may not fall in the BDOD, it's not a totally obnoxious use for these type of properties.
So then that would allow large-scale, that would create an opportunity for large-scale ground-mounted solar outside of,
Outside of the BDOD,
if it falls into
one of these.
one of these categories.
Josh, do you, and I have to look back at 594.3, you have like capital eligible landfills. Is that defined? I just don't remember seeing that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Whenever I see a capital, it tells me it should be a defined term, or we expect it would
The
be.
last time we went through and revised this section, we tried to implement
Catch those.
caps, but it's not consistent through the overall bylaws, which is one thing we need to get going on the other.
Yes, there are other
Right,
grants.
yes. So I'm not sure
Same
it's
with
defined or
brownfield?
not.
Okay, I would say that I don't think it is defined either, but.
Yeah, you might want to. I mean, I'm reading it going, cited on eligible landfills. What might that mean from a zoning perspective?
Yeah, and I would say
Maybe you
solar
want to, you could define it
located-
within there.
Yeah, I would say solar located on landfills has historically been something that's been looked at, and it might be the case that they've all been exhausted in Wareham anyway.
Okay.
But I think when I wrote it, I was looking at some Mass General law. There's some kinds of landfills,
Yeah.
like toxic waste dumps.
Brownfields,
Yeah.
for instance, right?
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
but there are some landfills that would be ineligible.
Sure, sure,
Perhaps if they're a Superfund site or
right.
not having any Superfund sites, I think, in Wareham. However, the last community I lived in had 4.
Yeah.
So,
It's more, unless you refer as defined under Mass General laws, this kind of just, to me, just stands out like,
So let's
what
just-
could that be?
we can either define it or
Lawyer
just
in me.
not make it bold or.
Yeah, well, or define it, what it might
Well,
mean.
all right, so I'll add a note
Just look
to
at it, yeah,
potentially define it, or if it's undefinable,
yeah,
we'll.
Some
we'll
other explanation for it.
uncapitalize it.
yeah,
Sure.
sure, okay.
Just say landfills. I take the word eligible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure,
And then we took out number 7 just because it felt like it was pretty broad in its definition.
yes,
Previously disturbed, I'm not sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of areas that could make that argument. So we,
Actually, I think we defined previously disturbed.
in the zoning bylaw,
If it was, then
In the
shouldn't it
solar
be
bylaw.
capitalized?
Yeah.
To go back to Julie's argument.
okay, I'll do some more digging
But
on
it's-
that
it's
one,
fine.
but I think even removing it isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, because we went through all kinds of debate around, your front yard. Not that, I'm just using an example. If you put grass in your front yard, that's
Yeah,
a
I know.
that's a disturbed, previously disturbed.
right, right,
So I think we took the time to try and define what we meant by
Yeah.
previously disturbed.
because we know what we're most concerned about,
Yeah.
undisturbed, right.
No, I recognized it as maybe being a little broad in its description, and, I don't think taking it out is a real burden to what we're trying to
Okay.
accomplish.
Yeah, I just know that we have, developers are gonna look at this and say, how can we work with this? So,
Well,
to the extent we can more specifically define it, it will help us as well.
great. That's not new. That's been in there for a while.
Yeah, yeah. But why not revisit it when we can?
No,
Right.
that's fine.
Yep,
Um,
I didn't bring my bylaws tonight.
So the change you see in 595.1 is just some structuring of the sentence in number 3. If we're gonna cite it only in the BDOD, taking out the residential property line, it seemed to fit better with a restructuring of the definition than it did, changing the entirety. So, then under the allowed uses, it's really just the addition of number 7 for the large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations.
which is defined in the bylaws, right. Okay.
So, I think that's the working document that we'll bring forward to town meeting. I'll take a look at those 2 items that we've talked about. There's been some comment to me that maybe getting this out into different forums is a good way to promote what we're trying to do. So I'm looking into some of those options. Probably call up the Wareham Week, see if they can post an article. And I'm gonna do some, well, I'll call them open office hours that will really advertise in the middle of the day, recognizing that planning board meetings may not be the best time to address some of these things. So I'll probably look at doing that the week before your meeting, so the week of the 3rd, March 3rd.
And Josh, for the presentation there in that town meeting, we had talked about having the district and showing, because as I said at the last meeting, there were many people that were surprised how many solar farms either are permitted or pending and where they are. So to me, it would be, on behalf of the citizens, to actually know where they are, to really get a sense of, I think there was a lot of questions about why are we just doing it here? But I think if we can show the current status, I think that might help people understand.
Josh, before I got distracted last week, Josh and I and Ken were working on a list of projects, either approved or pending. And there were we had some reconciliation. Have we made any progress on that, particularly a couple of them, also related to the bonds?
Yeah, I think one of the main concerns was that question of 160. I think that was a big one, and I think I'm just going to lean on the fact that there was an approved project and then there was an amendment to the approved project, and that's why 160 shows up twice in your list. That's the only reason I can justify there being two there.
We need to, my recommendation is we need to come up with a final's the wrong word, a current list that we can defend and explain, because even when I went through it, I could not reconcile all the projects and properties. And so that folks understand, one of the challenges that we have with tracking projects in town historically is when we approve a project, we do it based on map and lot. However, if a subdivision comes along or an A&R comes along, map and lot numbers can change, and it makes it more effort to do backtracking. So you were going to, I thought, look at the registry, because one of the things that doesn't change is the book and plate in the registry.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that because I started to look at it.
Yeah, okay.
I will.
So it's just anybody who's trying to do the investigation on their own, understand that a project that was approved 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, the map and lot numbers may have changed, particularly if it wasn't built yet.
And Julie, I think this is a graphic that you're kind of describing. You can see pre-constructed solar here in red, and you can see proposed or currently in the permitting process in blue.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I feel that it might be helpful for folks to really understand what, I think some felt, where's this coming from? And to explain, there are a number of projects here, and this is one of the ways that we feel we can.
Yeah, there are, I believe, 19 that are built, with a little question about 160, whether that's one or two, and there are 26 total pending and approved, or built, pending, and approved.
yeah. And I would
That doesn't, yeah.
I would love to try to make the case of, how many solar projects we have in comparison to other communities, other than me sitting down and trying to identify them via aerial images. It's kind of difficult.
Sure.
There is some aerial software out there that will actually do it using like AI, except when I look into that, it's like $3,000 for it to scan one community, and I
Yeah.
don't think
And
that's
I don't think the state has an inventory list
Yeah.
of where all their projects
Which
are,
is amazing that they don't.
given that they're mandating this.
Right.
I know, yeah,
so.
sure, I understand. But I know you'll do what you can.
Yeah,
And I think it's worth talking in the meeting about this is, kind of the status of the town right now,
right.
so.
So,
okay.
unless there's any other questions about solar,
Could you
I-
talk to other planning boards? Call the town planner or whatever. They may know, or they should know, but they
But
may
there's
not.
450 communities in,
351.
351.
458 was New Jersey where I came.
Wow.
351 here.
Okay.
I'm just saying, locally.
Yeah, I could reach out to some other planners and see if they have a list
But
or,
Rochester, I think, is beginning to experience the growth
Yes.
that we're seeing, although I'm not sure they're as far or as active as we've been trying to understand it.
yeah, I actually, ironically, I talked to the environmental planner over in Rochester this afternoon, and I asked her, I said, are you getting inundated with solar? She said, not currently, but we reviewed one today.
Yeah.
So,
I think land cost in Rochester is still more expensive than land cost in Wareham.
Correct.
Good, thank you. I'm going to cautiously ask if there's any question or comment. We're not going to debate. So, Nancy, if you'd like to come forward, Ms. McHale. Again, I'm going to limit this strictly, again, because it's not a public hearing, but I can take discussion. Name, address,
Thank you.
spelling.
Nancy McHale, 87 Fairing Hill Road, Precinct 5.
Thank you.
Just a question. I heard during Mr. Flaherty's conversation, the use of ground-mounted solar arrays several times, but not always in conjunction with battery energy storage systems. Are they completely linked? And should they be referred in tandem all the time?
Okay, so I'm going to take a whack at answering it, then I'll let Josh answer it. Under Mass General Law, I believe battery energy storage systems are considered part and parcel of a large-scale solar array. They are not distinct in Mass General Law.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Josh, do you?
no, I would agree with that. I can say historically, you've never seen a project for just a battery energy storage system, but you have seen ground-mounted solar with battery energy storage. And the planning board has described their caution to applicants about those type of projects, and many times the battery has been removed from those
Right.
projects.
But I believe under, I forget which law it is, they have, battery energy storage systems fall under the same protections that the solar panel portion of the projects fall.
That being said, from a citizen standpoint, not having that enumerated is perhaps questionable. Oh, they only said the solar panels, they didn't say the batteries.
Okay, and we didn't say solar, if you look at the definition of large-scale ground-mounted solar arrays, it doesn't just say panels.
Right, right.
It is the whole, because we don't list the inverters, we don't list the underground conduit, we don't, so, but your point is
Yeah.
taken.
Since it's been such a large topic of conversation.
I understand. So we could perhaps be more, the goal is to be clear, so I accept that.
I think the only thing that would be needed to address your concern is if you look under 451 allowed uses, we add number 7, which is large-scale ground-mounted solar. We could add a number 8, which is battery energy storage systems.
Or, well, Okay, let's not get into a discussion. We'll take that as an input, we'll find a way to address your concern.
But Josh, 450.5 does separately mention battery energy storage
Yeah.
systems, so I think there's a way to do that
Well, and your
within
use
what
table
you've
does
done.
too.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think
agreed.
we may or may not. Thank you. We
Yeah.
need to be clear to the citizens that we're dealing with both.
Right.
The other question that I had was, does this bylaw allow for standalone battery energy storage systems?
I'm going to be cautious on that, but that, I think, is an issue for Mass General Law, which said large-scale battery or energy, utility-scale battery energy storage systems are protected under the solar law,
Okay.
and we can't separately.
Which is
prohibit
not the
them.
case in several other states, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
But, so what we're working on is properly citing, properly conditioning,
special permit.
special
required.
permit, site plan review,
Right.
and, oh, you reminded me of one thing. Did you put the vault clause in?
No. And the reason I did not, I can't find anywhere that describes how to construct or the size of the vault.
I thought,
It's Town of Dennis.
I called the Dennis Town Planner.
did you talk to Jared?
I didn't talk to Jared, but I called the Dennis Town Planner. I spoke to them, and I spoke to the Dennis Building Commissioner, or one of his employees. They have no clue what I was talking about.
Okay, I was under the
Maybe
impression they had a
fire?
bylaw.
Yeah,
Well, it was in there, but, okay,
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
But yes, the vault is, or some sort of,
yeah, but
Secondary
if we
containment system.
can't define it clearly, we can't just,
I mean, it is still a condition you could put on the project.
well, it's nicer if it's,
No, I agree.
yeah.
yeah.
If they know that they have to come in with a vault, that,
or we could add language to give us some latitude that says containment. Broadly speaking, containment.
yeah, I'm in the process of trying to find vault requirements. I reached out to a few consultants and the town of Dennis. I just-
Right, okay. Let's, if not, let's just say containment for battery energy storage systems is required.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see is a lot of the battery energy storage systems have their individual containment, where they're almost constructed like an oil tank or something. They're double walled, or
Yeah,
they
no, but
have-
we're talking about fire,
A moat.
fire,
basically.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. I don't want to get into debate.
Yeah.
Thank you for your input.
Yeah.
From a chemistry standpoint, it would be a secondary containment system.
Containment and secondary containment. So we could say language like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
We know that we want to try and
Helpful, Nancy, for sure.
put something,
Right.
the states are beginning to do, not states, sites are beginning to put vaults and
You could look
containment.
Beyond Massachusetts, too.
Yes, yeah.
Great, thank you.
All right. Any more comment? One, who, can you? Who? Jim Manise? Okay, Mr. Manise, I'll allow you to speak, but again, we don't want to get into debate or discussion. So if you have a comment, we'd love to hear it. Jim, you need to unmute. You're muted. You're still muted.
Can you prompt him to unmute?
I don't know. All right, well,
Back to
if he comes back, we can consider his comment, but, okay, Josh, if you want to move on to ADUs?
Sure. I'll share the document that I shared with the planning board. Again, if you want to find this, it's also in the town clerk's office. So again, just taking us through, this one looks a little different because we don't have anything for ADUs, so we don't have an original or proposed, so this is all just proposed. First, starting with the use table, state law says anywhere you would allow a single-family residence, you have to allow these. So we've updated the use table for all those zoning districts with a Y, and where we don't allow it, you'll see the letter N. There are areas of town that we would allow a property owner to construct multiple dwelling units, and we have that as a site plan review special permit, special permit through the zoning board of appeals. So again, you'll see that this looks very similar to the state law. I know I've read the state law a lot, so I'm very familiar with it, but one thing I would like to point out is some of our definitions. So we've defined corporation, we've defined short-term rental, and we've defined real estate investment trust. The reason we have defined those is under our requirements in an attempt to prevent corporations from coming in and buying properties, creating ADUs, and having just a rental. We have number 7, which is short-term rentals are prohibited in dwelling units owned by a corporation, real estate investment trust, or any similar entity which pools funds from investors and engages primarily in investment activities. You'll see that continues to say short-term rentals are permitted in dwelling units owned by LLCs, trusts, or S corporations. When every shareholder, partner, or member of the legal entity is a natural person. And we would require that is provided in documentation at the time of the registration through the Board of Health, who oversees rental properties. We've identified those entities such as LLCs and trusts, that could be owned by an individual living in our community, but may have the ability to rent it out. So we give the ability to the resident to do it, but prevent corporations from doing it. And then the design standard, as always, has been defined by the dimensional regulations of the underlying zoning district.
Just a couple of things, Josh. We have defined a whole series of terms, thank you. Can we, and I'm happy to send my markups here. We then talk about them, there are places that we didn't, it's not capitalized. Particularly things like REITs, we want to make sure that people relate back, but I'll shoot this to you.
Thank you.
And then the other question I had on number 7, 863, is we have a dwelling units owned by LLC, et cetera. Don't we want to actually say an individual? Like if I have a single-family home, am I missing something?
I don't know that we have to, as it's already defined under the state law.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we can, doesn't hurt to add it.
Yeah.
But,
It might,
I think if you're looking into these,
yeah,
it's a fair comment.
yeah, okay. That was just my only comment. And we don't have any guidelines yet, correct? We have the code. Don't have a model law yet, last I checked, yeah.
No,
okay.
we don't have a model bylaw.
Okay.
Just to back up for a second, Julie, you said something about a REIT. Is that the acronym for Real Estate Investment Trust?
Yeah.
We might want to put that in parentheses, the way we did with ADU up above, REIT.
Yeah, it's REIT, yeah.
then there was one thing that I believe Jane had shared with the commission, or was it just me? It was the planning board, sorry. Where I think she brings up a lot of good points, for people to understand that this is not you just bringing something in and plopping it on your property. There are numerous other laws that need to be adhered to, and I'd just like to state some of them. This definitely isn't the full list, and we are definitely not claiming that it is. But some other regulatory things you need to consider when applying for ADUs. You'll have to go in front of conservation commissions. You'll have to have permitting through the Mass Environmental Protection Agency. FEMA comes into play, the International Residential Code, the Massachusetts State Building Code, the plumbing code, the electrical.
Title
Board of
V.
Health.
Title V?
Title V, yep. So I mean, and we're not putting these in the bylaw, but I think a lot of these things are captured under a building permit already.
I think that was one place people misunderstood.
Yeah,
By
as
right.
of right.
You'll
So
have
you
to
might
go
in
to
the
Board of Health.
maybe in the preamble, Josh, I think you have a preamble here. You might purpose, maybe?
I kept hearing by right.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And you
Yeah.
want to encourage people, but you don't want them to, you need them to, they may need to calculate how much is this going to cost.
Well, I've actually talked to a few engineers, consultants about what these might actually cost, and they're quoting anyone from $250 to $350 a square foot. And when you start looking at the maximum of a 900 square foot unit you can build, they start to run in the range of 200 grand.
Yeah.
And I honestly think some of the quotes that I got from some of these consultants are kind of low. It's a possibility it's 450, and there are I'm going to be careful how I say this. There are very few places where this actually makes sense for the everyday person. If you have a split level ranch, maybe it makes sense to do top and bottom. If you have an existing garage and you want to put one above, it makes sense. If you have...
And you don't have to raise it 18 feet in the air.
Yeah, if you have a basement that meets all the, the requirements for habitation, maybe it makes sense. But even one of the proposals I saw for converting a basement into an ADU was still somewhere around 120 grand. So when you look at that, does it make sense with rental rates? I don't know.
That's me, sorry. And I guess just along those terms, we have that at the explanation, we have as of right, maybe subject to minor review. Maybe that's where you insert, which may include, depending on location, siting, something. Because minor review, if you have to go through a conservation commission, it's maybe a little more than a minor review. I don't know.
Yeah, depends on how you feel, what minor is, right?
Yeah, right.
But,
For some
You can
folks, I
take
think
out the
minor
qualifier and
is
just
this going
say
to cost
maybe
me? How
subject
much
to
is this going to
review.
cost me?
Yeah,
Kind of
just,
thing.
I don't know that you want to say minor, maybe subject to other review.
Yeah, just take out the qualifier word.
Yeah.
sure.
Then and Jane, listening to what you had just suggested, which was great, we have 864, we call it a design standard, when, and to me, our zoning bylaw that talks about design says you have to have this design review, and it's collaborative, but if you don't meet dimensional requirements on this, you're out without a variance, correct? So I wonder if, Josh, maybe it should be under 863 requirements, because people might, I'm not sure if they will understand that
Well, maybe it should just say that it's subject, that any such project is subject to all of the other requirements that a dwelling unit would have to go through, or something to that effect. I don't know, that's terrible wording, but,
We're not trying to write the bylaw, but we're trying to communicate to folks so
Yeah.
they don't come in and get surprised.
Right, right.
That was the
Right,
biggest
right,
question
exactly.
on the
Yeah,
last.
everyone,
That
yeah,
was the
I
number
agree,
one
I
question.
agree. But Josh, I'll shoot you just some markups if that helps. Yeah, okay, thank you, but this is great work.
Thank
Very
you
good
so
work.
Yep.
Very
Yeah.
good work.
really.
In a crazy law and no guidance from the state.
Does that conclude?
I believe so, yeah.
So again, I'm going to cautiously ask if anyone has a question or comment. Seeing none, we're going to move on. John, was there anybody out in the... No, okay.
Did we lose Mr. Muniz?
Is Jim back? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to move on. That's the end of that part. There are no continued public hearings this evening. There are no public hearings this evening. The upcoming board schedule, the only project we have on the slate right now is Fearing Hill. The public hearing is continued till March 10th, which we will then discuss it. Then we have the zoning articles. This topic, the public hearing is March 10th. Josh, do you have a ruling from Mr. Turner on Zero Maple Springs Road? Okay,
Not today. We checked with him today, not as of today.
okay, great, that's fine. So it's not on anybody's calendar yet? Okay. No, any liaison reports? None?
Serpent on Wednesday, I'll let you know.
What about the bylaw rewrite?
Talking with Grant King, he's trying to find a little bit of money for us to, I'm working with Ken. He gave me examples of what we've done in the past, some of the
For RFP,
process
we have to
of,
write it. The next step
Yeah,
is the RFP.
that's
We
what
have-
I'm
we've
drafting
We've
right now.
perfected the grant, is that correct?
correct.
So-
We got the contract, that's been signed.
So now we need to issue an RFP.
Yep. That's what I'm working on,
Great,
after tomorrow night.
great. Any other member comments, questions, issues?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Corbett to adjourn, a second from Mr. Baptiste. All in favor?
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
Julie Marie and I.
Sam Corbett, aye.
And the chair votes aye. The meeting is adjourned at 6:43. Thank you all for attendance.